counting down our top 10 favorite YouTube channels.
Now, you watch lots of YouTube.
I watch more YouTube than you, definitely.
Yeah.
But you also watch a lot of YouTube, so...
I listen to a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
And primarily, like, things from old TV from a long time ago that people have uploaded onto YouTube. Like, I do certainly follow some YouTube channels, and there are particular kinds of videos that, like, on a singular basis, I'll sometimes go check out. But you're much more of a, on the viewing side anyway, YouTuber than I am. So I'm more of a YouTube content creator, of course, and have been forever. But sometimes I've mentioned this to people, and they've been really surprised by it. Like, what YouTube channels do you listen to? What reviewers do you watch? And I'm like, not a bunch.
Yeah. Even though you are one yourself, you don't really listen or watch any other that many other people talk about the same things.
Exactly.
Talk about?
Yeah. So a lot of the things that I like to listen to are for the sake of escapism for me, to get away from the stuff that I'm always having to talk about and think about. And don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but nobody wants to be inundated 24/7 with the thing that they do for a living. It's fun to have other hobbies that are separated from that. And I'll get into some of the other kinds of things I like to look at on YouTube, of course. But it's not like I never will watch a video critiquing or analyzing a superhero movie or comics or something, but it's few and far between. I don't look at a ton of it.
Yeah.
And I think when I mentioned that in the past, sometimes people are like, well, why don't you, like, support your brethren or whatever? But I don't want to be too influenced by other people's opinions with the things that I'm talking about, which is part of the reason I don't do a ton of that. What do you tend to look at? What are the, and we'll get into me after a bit, but what are, this is your idea, and I want to say your generation, am I right, watches more independently produced stuff made in people's houses than they probably watch television.
Yes.
Am I right about that?
Yeah, and I'll talk about it as well. There are also a lot of, or at least a few that I can think of. Actually, no, like one or two that I can think of that are YouTube channels that they're not making them in their house. It's more like television.
Oh, sure. So it's kind of reality TV.
Yeah, but on YouTube, and it's, that, like, YouTube is their job, and they might have been on, like, late night or something, but...
Yeah, so they're famous.
Yeah.
But it's still independent. They're not necessarily backed by a big corporation, or if they were, or if they are now, they didn't used to be.
Yeah.
And how many of these are people who start as just video game streamers, and then, a lot of them, right? Yes. And then they build capital, and then they start doing these really highly produced, crazy expensive videos.
Yes. And they usually don't get any views or anything at all, like, until they start, like, when they're just playing video games or doing random challenges or something.
Yeah.
They don't get any views until they hit, like, high quality content, and then people start.
Well, that sounds like something of a chicken and the egg thing then.
Yeah, because
how do they get
also. So, the thing is, there's a lot of... So, you didn't get as much views playing video games 8 years ago, 10 years ago, but you do a lot more now.
Well, and it, of course, depends on the game and stuff,
yeah.
But... Okay, so you're suggesting that a lot of people had to grind for a lot of years. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's someone on my list that started playing Minecraft. Actually, there's a couple people on my list that started playing Minecraft, and then they stopped playing Minecraft and moved to other things, and they suddenly actually started getting views and stuff.
Okay. A phenomenon I've been hearing about a lot lately is people who make it to, quote-unquote, the big time on YouTube, and they look like millionaires, and they should be rolling in money, but they invest every dime back into the production values of their videos, and are not actually worth as much as they look like they are on paper.
Yeah.
Because they sink it all back in. And so none of it's a liquid.
Yep. Okay, so I wanna ask you a question.
Yeah.
I have one person on my list that is older than, like, 25 years old.
Okay. Interesting.
Like, yeah.
So that's not a question.
Are most of are most of the people, at least like the ones who are actually like, you know, just one person or like the main guy on most of the channels, are they mostly like older people that are more like your age?
Yeah.
Or are there some that are like, you know, early 20s? I just got out of high school. Like...
No, every single one of mine is probably at least 30.
Wow. Okay.
And most of them older than that.
Yeah, most of mine are way younger than that.
No, of course. And part of the reason that I was kind of excited when you pitched this was I'm going to get an education here because, of course, I to some degree monitor what Jason's looking at. Obviously, that's part of being a parent. You want to make sure that your kids aren't being, you know, influenced by stuff that's just, you know, super inappropriate for them, and it's important to know what your kids are looking at. But I don't know a lot about the individuals. I'll look over your shoulder and be like, "What's this video about?" And you'll be like, "Well, here's this channel that's about geography," and I'm like, "Well, that sounds harmless." And you'll tell me about videos made by people who are playing video games and what exactly they're doing, and you'll promise there's not swearing and stuff. But I don't actually know a ton about the details of the stuff that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And the big things that are appealing to kids right now. So I'll hear, Freddie is constantly talking about some big YouTuber named Dream. I know nothing about that guy, but his name comes up all the time. And I'm sure that's either on your list or is tangentially related, and you will bring that person up at least one time.
Yeah, or a bunch of people are related to him and he is on my list, or, something like that. Like, I'm just gonna, he is very, and I'll talk about that later, but he is very controversial.
Oh, really?
And, like, his content is great, but, like, there are kind of two types of people that watch him or don't watch him. There's, like, the haters that hate him for some reason.
Okay.
Just because he cheated a couple times accidentally, or so we think. We don't know.
Okay.
We don't really know. But then there are people who are
like
kind of just
in video games?
obsessed with him. Yeah. But there are also people who are, like, really obsessed with him, and it's kind of weird. So,
yeah, I think the other big difference that you're going to find with our list is mine's a bunch of, like, random, different, very disconnected kinds of things, and most of them not influencers in the sense of what I imagine, what I gather are probably the kinds of people you gravitate toward, because I'm not into social media. And I kind of stray away from that because it's gotten, especially on Twitter and stuff, and I hate this word, but there's not a better word, toxic at this point. And I would, like I said, I go to the stuff I go to for an escape, and I'm not really interested in the drama.
Mm.
And so I kind of steer clear of some of that. Well, let's go ahead and get to our list here. Jason, I'm going to let you start, of course.
Yep.
Partly because you pitched this, and partly because when I went first last week, I could not keep remembering that I was going first last time. So I'll try to get better at going back and forth like that. Jason, what is number 10 on your list? Give me an education, sir.
My number 10 is Beta 64.
Okay.
So, this guy is, he's been around for 7 or 8 years now, and he talks about basically like the history of different video games. Each of his like what the video games were.
Is it all retro?
Yeah. Well, no. So
okay.
Most of it is, but some of it is like games that have just come out, and he's gonna talk about, the entire history of it.
Of development and all of that. Okay,
and
cool.
How the idea surfaced.
And everybody, if you don't know, with Jason's sensibilities, Jason is big into research, and particularly in the video game scene.
Yeah.
And quick plug for his channel, if you don't know about it, Video Game Secrets. Jason makes real short 1 to 2 minute videos about things that you probably didn't know that show up in video games, both inside actual games and also regarding history of video games. And I want to know how much of your list is game related. Like, is all of it, or are there some stuff there that's not?
No. I think most of it is in some form,
Sure.
but
Because that's kind of your main interest online.
yeah, and none of the so there are YouTubers that I was like that like kind of made me like make a channel.
Yeah.
But that are not on my list, like people who I used to watch and don't anymore.
Sure.
And, like, you know, like they're not my favorites.
I
but
think
they
all of
helped
us go
me,
in and
but-
out of
yeah.
channels some too.
And this list is going to be way different in 3 months. Like 4 months ago, I will have had a completely different list.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and yeah, we
'Cause
should have
For me,
mentioned
it changes a lot.
we should have mentioned that caveat at the beginning that this is where we're at right now
Yeah.
with what we're watching. Like, I'm with you. A couple of these things would not be on my list 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And other things probably would be. One thing that is always really surprising to me with our channel, Jason, is the folks I hear from all the time that have been watching us since the beginning. And some people will drift out for a while and come back in, and of course, we have a real kind of, I don't want to say cyclical thing with the channel, but we like change and evolve a lot. We go through different phases and formats, and a lot of it just has to do with life stuff, and I'm sure I'm not alone on that.
Oh man, there are a bunch of people on my list that, you know, have lost subscribers because, you know, their channel changed a lot and they talk about it. And
They don't do
stuff.
exactly the same things they used to.
Yeah.
They'll have that series that got real popular that they don't want to make anymore, or that they kind of ran out of steam with, or
Yep.
that they get burnt out on.
Yep.
I've had to keep changing my formats just to keep me interested in it, you know. And so it's a risk you take because yeah, you'll lose some viewers and people want you to be the same thing forever. But like, I don't know how, for instance, the CinemaSins guy does it. Like, and I haven't watched his videos in a long time. You know, the like everything wrong with movie
that guy.
videos, CinemaSins.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a real specific format. He does it exactly the same way every time. He's been around for almost a decade now, I think. Maybe 7 or 8, 9 years, and his videos get millions of views, and I would get burnt out.
Yeah.
And he puts them out constantly, and I would think that you'd have to, you know, shake things up a little bit. And I respect people that are able to keep doing the same thing and keep it fresh. And if they are able to do that, because I find that kind of difficult. You got to, even Spawn Year, I had to, like, it took me 2 years to make a series that was supposed to be a year, because I had to leave and come back. I had to leave it and come back, or I would have gone crazy. Like, it was too ambitious. It was too much of the same thing.
Yeah.
How it should have ended is the same way, and I think part of the way that they stay, that's not on my list because I forgot to put it on my list. It probably should be. Although I gotta say, I don't watch them as much as I used to.
Really?
So I'm gonna say that would be a runner-up anyway.
You met
But-
them, didn't you?
Yeah, not
10 years ago?
Not in person, but yeah, I did an interview with them a while back. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I've done interviews with a few bigger YouTube channels like that. At least a couple. But anyway, I'm sorry. What else did you want to say about your first guy?
So
What was his name again?
Beta 64.
Beta 64.
So
Okay.
yeah, he talks about lots of like beta versions.
I'm gonna
and
be
stuff.
annoying and ask you this probably with everybody. Does he have a live stream component, or is he just polished?
No, he's just polished, and he
Edited videos, yeah.
some of these I might not be able to tell you honestly. The thing that I don't like about him is that and I totally get it. I just, you know, I'm not really able. I did used to watch him a lot more than I do now, but I still put him on my list because I really like his content. But he hasn't uploaded in 7 months, and he doesn't upload, you know, that much at a time. And, you know, it takes a while for him to make his videos. So he's still probably, like, making videos. It just takes him a while.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a few months before he puts out his next video. So
And some people are really successful doing it that way, where
yeah.
you don't have to put out constant content all the time, even though that seems to be more and more the name of the game these days, is like quantity over quality,
Yeah,
which is
there are
which
a
is
lot of-
unfortunate.
there are a lot of channels that are super popular that are on my list that post every couple months.
Some of it also depends on how, I mean, I hate to say, like, how popular your channel is, how many people are watching. If you can rely on ad revenue and you're a huge channel that gets 1 million or more views on every video, you might be able to afford to post a lot less often. If you're me, you have to make more content.
Yeah.
Because not to get too inside baseball, how the sausage is made, but these days a lot of us rely a lot more on community support than ad revenue. And when you're kind of smaller potatoes like we are, we don't, just full disclosure, I don't do the ad revenue even that I used to.
Yeah.
And it's still there, and it's okay. But if I only post, like, if I take, when I go on hiatus, if I take a month or two off, significant drop in revenue for obvious reasons. So I try to keep the content interesting, of course, and I don't want to be just quantity, and who cares about quality? But there is a major quantity component for a lot of it. But then you get channels like. And this will be on my runner-up list, but you get channels like the Video Game Historian, who posts very rarely these days. I think he's started having a little bit more output. He had a couple of years there where he hardly posted, but he's never been like every week or anything. But he gets enough views, and people are regularly going back to his old stuff. That I assume, and I don't know that that's the only way he's supporting himself, but I assume that his ad revenue is good enough that he can afford to make these bigger projects that are a lot more like documentaries than they are just quick, easy to throw together. He's doing a lot more than just looking at Wikipedia and he's interviewing people. I mean, he's making kind of mini documentaries.
Oh, a couple people are mentioning Ryan George. I forgot about him. He would probably be in my runners-up.
Who is that?
He's the pitch meetings guy. Where I had mentioned it before, and you said you knew what it was.
Well, just refresh my memory.
He's the guy who he plays two guys, and he stands in front of a green screen, and he pretends to make up movies.
Okay, I must have seen one or two of those.
Yeah,
but...
he's he makes other content as well, but he's great. I watch him every once in a while.
Okay, let's keep going, folks.
You're number 2.
Yeah, this isn't a topic we've really discussed a lot, so it's kind of hard to just run down the list and not explore, YouTube content creation in 2022 and strategies, and because there's so many different ways people are doing this and making a living with it, or making a hobby with it. Now, here's another question: Would you say that everyone on your list are people that make a living with YouTube? Just out of morbid curiosity.
I don't know. I do not know if Beta 64 does.
Okay.
There are, I think, every single other one of these, yes.
Robert Wild Comic Pop I dip in and out of, but still would make my top 10. I don't watch it as much as I used to, but I'm still a big fan of Sal. I think the channel I'm thinking of is the one you're talking about, and I've sampled that before. Like I said, there's, and I will just say, straight up comic book review channels, there's not one on my list. But if I did start regularly watching more comic reviews, I would probably go straight to those guys. I did used to listen to a couple of podcasts for comics, but I never got real deep into it with YouTube. Comic Book Cast is a channel about news that I used to look at a little bit, and if memory serves, one of the guys involved there got into the whole YouTube thing because he watched us.
Oh.
I may be wrong about that, but I seem to remember getting a message from him from one of those guys years ago saying, "Hey, Captain Logan, you're the reason that I'm doing this," and that channel blew up and they're huge. But yeah.
That's crazy.
Sorry, there was another video, or there was another comment I wanted to read, and I'm not seeing it now. But anyway, what was it?
I do want to ask you another question.
Yeah, sure.
Are any of your channels on your list related to music?
Yes.
Okay. There's one on my runners-up that is.
And I will say there are some. I could have done my entire list out of just gaming channels. Yeah. We could have made this a gaming YouTube list, but I left a few off and put some other things in for the sake of variety. My number 10, however, is a gaming channel, and it's a channel called Nintendo Collecting, and I put it at number 10.
Is it that guy who collects a bunch of consoles.
Yeah, he's got like the biggest Nintendo 64
Yeah.
collection in the world probably. So this is a channel that I felt the need to put on my list, but at the end of it, because I don't watch all of his content, I guess none of these channels are things that I watch everything. And again, I don't spend a ton of time on YouTube just watching videos in general. I pay for YouTube Premium so that long videos that I don't have to look at, I can turn my phone off and still listen to them. Yeah. But I tried to pick things that I'm actually like looking at the screen most of the time. So Nintendo Collecting, I felt the need to put on this list for one video he uploads every year, and that is his Nintendo Room Tour, which is just astounding. I like collection videos a lot, and I wanted to make sure and put at least one of those channels there, and his is my favorite.
One of my favorite YouTube channels, which is on this list, is a collector of something. So.
Oh, cool. I like room tours a lot. It's part of the reason I started doing them on a yearly basis myself, because they're fun to make, and I think they're a lot of fun to watch. I found his in particular really inspiring, just in putting my own spaces together and stuff. I want to get even more ambitious at some point after looking at his, and there's another guy on my list partly for this also, now that I'm thinking about it. With some of the custom things that he makes, he's got like custom controller tables and really neat things like that. But first of all, his collection is just insane. He has almost every issue of Nintendo Power, and he has, like you said, a lot of consoles and in box, and he probably has like 30 or 40 Nintendo 64s, and he's got the really super rare ones. He gives a lot of advice on how to collect on a budget, and some of the insanely pricey things he has, he's gotten really lucky or was really smart in his strategy and figuring out ways to procure them, so the man's not made out of money. He's not throwing insane amounts of money at most things. He's just really good at collecting, and that's a thing, of course, that I'm really involved in like a lot. And his space is just really pretty. It's really well lit. It looks like a museum, but it also looks like a really fun place to just go in and play, and you just kind of wish that you could, go there and hang out with him and play video games with him. You imagine that the parties he has there must be absolutely crazy.
Yeah, a YouTuber I want to mention that isn't on my runners-up or on my list, which has kind of the same kind of thing, but he's not at all, like, as big a collector as that guy.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah, you've told me about him before.
Yeah, he's got a cool collection. He's got all of the Game Boy Advance video cartridges.
Oh, wow.
He's got the most... he's got the rarest SNES cartridge, and the rarest 64 cartridge, and
Yeah, and this guy has some really rare things that you don't see very often, or that there's not very many of. But what's more impressive about it is the way it's displayed, I think.
Yeah.
Than anything.
I do like his display better than the Nintendo's.
I also just like his delivery a lot, and he's very good off the cuff. He's very good behind the camera. I don't even know what he looks like. I don't know if he ever goes on camera. He doesn't for those videos anyway. And they're very long. They're like hour and a half, 2-hour tours, and I don't get bored with them. It's really fun to just sit down and look at it. And so anyway, that's why that's on my list. What is your number 9, sir?
My number 9 is... My number 9.
Oh, sorry. DJ's there in the comments, and he said he just did his first tour video. That's cool. I'll have to take a look at that if you've got it uploaded, DJ. Good to see you, buddy.
My number 9 is Anthony Padilla.
Okay.
So...
Who's that? Is that the geography guy?
No.
I'm just going to keep doing that, because I know that's going to be on your list somewhere.
That's like number 2.
Oh, okay,
So that's really on my list, because I watch him a lot. So, he used to be on Smosh.
Okay.
And... I of course don't watch them because they were really inappropriate.
Pretty lewd, yeah.
Yeah. And they weren't very funny for me. But then in 2015 he went off.
Are they kind of like Game Grumps?
No. They're a comedy channel.
Oh, okay.
That used to be emo.
Oh, it's all coming back to me now. I know what that is. I never like actually watched them, but yeah.
I watched a couple of their videos.
Some stuff I used to watch is suddenly coming back to me as we're talking about this. Like, if this was 10 years ago, I would have had College Humor on my list, but, like, not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they were a lot like College Humor, and yeah, they are still like that, but, yeah.
Anyway, so what does this guy do?
He went off and made his own channel, and then in, like, a few years ago, like, 2019, he started making, interview videos, and those are the videos that I watch a lot.
And what kinds of people does he interview?
He interviews YouTubers, people with, like, disorders.
Oh, interesting.
It's really fun to listen to.
Is it mostly educational, would you say?
Yeah, especially if you want to, like, learn about a YouTuber, and it's one of the he's the one guy that's over 30.
Okay.
'Cause he's 34. But,
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty. I like to just listen to his content. I used to watch him a lot more than I do now, but because I'm just I just watch a lot of other stuff. There are, like, 3 channels that I just watch, like, right when their videos come out and stuff, so I don't really have as much time to watch, like, other people's
I have
content.
only a couple of those myself.
Yeah.
That every time they post, I'm almost always looking at it.
That's why this list was a little hard to make for me, and then once I got to, like, number 8, I was like, oh no, now I have, like, 10 more that I don't know what to put.
I thought I was going to have to scrounge for this because I don't think of myself as much of a YouTube watcher.
Yeah.
And I put together a very large list and was really surprised by it. And it was actually hard to narrow it down.
Yeah.
So I'll have a lot of runners-up.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I'm sorry, before we move on, it seems like we keep kind of stalling ourselves out here, but I do have to mention that I purposefully didn't put channels that I'm really good friends with or that I am very closely associated with, just so that I could kind of try to spread the love around a little bit. So channels that I did not include that are channels I like a lot, that I do watch, at least some. Oliver Harper is a good friend of mine. We haven't talked in a while and haven't had him on the channel in a long time, but he makes reviews and retrospectives and for primarily like action movies and superhero movies and that kind of thing. He's a Superman expert. He's done commentaries with me on the channel on all the Superman movies. We started doing them with Jurassic Park. I haven't had him back yet. I need to reach out to him and see if he wants to come back and do some commentaries with me again.
Another rule is that we cannot pick ourselves.
We can't pick ourselves, and we can't pick each other. So obviously, Video Game Secrets is not on my list, but I love it, and it would be if I just found it in the wild.
The Welder aren't either.
The Welder's not here. The Day Ghost is not here. Dan's Conan Chronicles. And I'm not a big Conan guy anyway, but
I haven't seen any of his videos.
But none of Dan's stuff is here. And I didn't include the review spot either, because we haven't talked in a long time, but he and I are friends, and he used to work with me on Who Reviews the Reviewers years and years ago. But quick plug for him, he's still reviewing action figures, and I think on a daily basis. And it's nuts how long he's been doing that, but I think that's still his bread and butter. Are we to my number 9?
Your number 9.
My number 9, and we may take a break here in a little bit and just go check on everybody upstairs, but my number 9 is a channel that I've been watching for years and years. It's a smaller channel. I think he hasn't even cracked 100,000. I think he's maybe double my size, but it's a guy named Cool Duder, and he is a DVD and Blu-ray collector, and another collection channel, and he is mostly into horror films, but he just has this insane collection, and it's fun to listen to him talk about his recent acquisitions. I like his content now actually better than what he used to do. He's gotten a lot more mature, and he also, and I don't mean to be superficial, I'm not saying I like him more now because of the way he looks, but this is an inspiring thing he did. He used to be very, very overweight, and to a really unhealthy degree, and he finally lost a lot of weight and got a lot healthier, and he does videos about weight loss, and those are very well done, and I found those kind of helpful and inspiring, and one of the main series he does now is every week he goes to he goes out in the wild to big box stores that are still selling physical media, and you see him go look at the new releases of all the big movies that have come out, and obscure stuff too, and he'll decide which one he's going to pick. And so you see, so he'll it's informative, it's helpful, because he'll be like, here's what's actually at the stores right now, and if you have this store in your area, maybe they've got this, and different kinds of releases. And DJ, if you're still watching, that is a channel that I would recommend that you take a look at, because he might tell you about new versions of movies that you don't know about, and he's also just really funny, because I don't know how he gets away with it with some of these places. Like, you'd think he'd get thrown out, but he takes a camera into all these stores. And have I ever told you about this guy?
No.
He'll walk into a Target and he goes, "Into Target we go," and then he goes into Target. And then he's looking at the movie shelves, and he's like whispering behind the camera, and he's like, "Okay, this one came out 2 weeks ago, and I didn't buy it because I don't care that much, but here it is," and that kind of thing. And then at the end, he used to split these up, where and then also, like, they're kind of I was gonna say he used to split up that and his kind of quick reviews, but now he puts them all in one video. So it's kind of a big hour-long video, and at the end he'll be like, "Here's all these things that I watched recently," and he'll recommend them or not. And he's like, I kind of can't help but say he's not the most critical person in the world. Like, he likes more than he doesn't like, but he's, he kind of, I don't want to say he likes everything, but he likes a lot of things that you might be surprised by. But he's a lot of fun to listen to. But it's kind of like going on a I almost said scavenger hunt. It's I guess it's kind of that too. But it's kind of like going on a field trip with him. Like, he'll go to a restaurant, he'll show you what he's having for lunch, like. But yeah, he'll be like, "Into Walmart we go."
So is he kind of like a vlog channel then?
Basically, yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, I didn't realize that you knew about him, DJ. Okay, moving right along, Jason. What's your number 8?
My number 8 is, this is gonna be another one that you do not know, probably.
Okay, go ahead.
If you do, I will be very surprised.
We'll see if we can start moving a little bit quicker here.
It is DJ Cook.
Not to be confused with my chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. No, that name does not ring a bell.
Yeah, so he used to make like Fortnite videos, and I never watched any of those. But starting a couple years ago, he started making these videos where it was the series called Meet the YouTubers, and what he would do is he would like look at like one YouTuber, or like usually now he does more of like a group of YouTubers, like what are the laziest YouTubers, or what are the most creepy YouTubers, or the most cringy YouTubers.
Oh, so he'll get real negative.
So what he does is he tries to clean up the bad side of YouTube, and he, like...
I'm not sure how I feel about you watching this.
What he does is he just looks at these really...
Maybe I'm not monitoring what you're watching enough.
I only started watching him, like, a couple months ago. So. But he just...
no, Jason's a little older.
Does a lot of...
I trust his judgment for the most part, but I do need to maybe keep a closer eye on what you're looking at.
But he does a lot of research into his videos and looks at a lot of YouTubers that he thinks are, like, you know...
You don't have any serial killer channels on your list, do you?
What? No.
People that do documentaries about serial killers and that kind of thing? Or, like, YouTubers that have gone bad? Like, that's kind of a phenomenon. There are channels that follow that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting.
But yeah, I mean, I do like it. I'm sorry, I'm watching.
I'll have to take a look at that, probably.
You can.
But how does he clean up the dark side? It seems like...
Well, sometimes he'll, like, try to... Like, one time he actually did, like, make it so that he was like, I finally did my job. And he actually made this kid, he had this, kid, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna start doing good videos now.
Oh.
And sometimes at the end of his videos, he'll, like, message... the YouTuber. He'll just try to find a way to message them and then say, like, no one's really liking your content and it's kind of not great, or like
Oh.
not great, but like you're not allowed to do this, or like stuff like that.
Oh, where it's not above board.
Yeah.
He's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how smart it is to like try to police people. But...
Well, I mean, and he's only done that a couple times.
Oh, okay, okay. That could, I mean, that can get kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it can.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'm gonna take that list from you later and look up some of these things. I think. My number. Jayson is starting to second guess some of the things he's put on his list. Maybe I shouldn't have told Dad about that. My number 8, is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Is a channel called First We Feast that does the hot ones. I think I've told you about this, where they do interviews with celebrities and famous people, where they eat hot wings with hot sauce, and it gets hotter as it goes along. And I heard about this for a long time, and it sounded kind of gimmicky and irritating, and then I finally watched, I think, the one with Weird Al a few months ago, and was really surprised by the thoroughness and thoughtfulness of the host, and just how good of an interviewer he is, and how much I learned from that interview. So yeah, it is gimmicky, and like the fun thing about it is supposed to be the person that's being interviewed has this, really, especially as you go along, their mouth is really hot. It's hard to concentrate. It's hard to think. Can you get through the whole interview while you have this weird thing that you have to focus on, where you've got this pain in your mouth, but I wasn't expecting the level of quality and integrity from the interviewer. Like, he knows his stuff. He does kind of a deep dive. It's almost like, in a way, it's like watching a less intellectual type James Lipton if he had hot sauce, like from Inside the Actors Studio, which is James Lipton's probably my favorite interviewer. One of the, if not my favorite interviewer of all time.
Were you surprised that I had an interviewer on here?
Yeah, I was actually. But you're kind of a researcher at heart, so that's not real surprising to me. Like, I imagine, I can see you at some point wanting to do that kind of job yourself. I suggested to you that you might consider journalism.
Really?
And part of...
Oh, yeah, you did.
Really? I don't remember you suggesting this to me.
I don't know why I said that.
Part of that process a lot when you're researching for articles, or whatever it is you're making, is interviewing people that are involved in whatever the story is that you're writing. I've only recently discovered, or I shouldn't say discovered because I knew about it, but I've only recently started watching that channel, so I didn't put it any higher on my list, and I haven't watched any of their other content, just that show, just the hot ones. But I've only seen, I've seen probably 5 or 6 episodes of that, and enjoyed it a lot. The Shaq one is really fun too, and I also really like the Gordon Ramsay one.
Oh, well, that would be actually pretty...
Because he complains about the wings and how horrible they are, and I think he drops the F-bomb like 75 times in that interview. It's really funny. And I don't think they bleep things, and I wouldn't let you watch some of it, but I enjoy... There are going to be some things on my list that you can't watch. And I don't mean to have a double standard, but, I'm an adult and you're not, so...
Have you seen that? I don't think I've actually seen the movie that this is from, but have you seen that clip or that movie? It's I think it's actually from the Muppets sequel, in the early 2010s.
Muppets Most Wanted.
Yeah, where it has Gordon Ramsay and he's like, It's the bleeping Muppets. There's families bleeping watching.
I don't remember that anymore.
He says bleeping instead of, the
really?
F-bomb, and
That's
he just
pretty good.
says bleep, bleep, bleep.
I saw that movie in the theater one time, so I don't remember that scene.
And
but
you didn't really like it?
No, it's okay. It was mediocre compared to The Muppets, which I thought was actually quite wonderful. But, okay, your number 7.
My number 7 is Jaden Animations. So, this is...
What kind of animations does he make? Or is he one of those channels where it says animation, but then that never happened? One guy I watched that I didn't put on my list, and I don't like him as much as I used to, but I watch a guy who does tech news and video game news called Review Tech USA. He hardly ever reviews tech. It's like all the news. but it's a review tech, but he hardly ever reviews tech.
Yeah,
So whenever anybody actually reviews tech, whenever he actually reviews a piece of tech, everybody in the comments goes, "Oh wow, we're reviewing tech in the USA." That's like all the comments every time. I'm sorry. So what kind of animations does he make?
So she makes. Yes.
Pardon me.
Yes.
I made an assumption.
So she just makes basically. So she's.
My defense. I thought Jaden was a boy's name.
It's both.
Does it go both ways? Okay.
So, I had a hard time picking between her and The Odd Ones Out because I did not want to put both on my list. They're both
too similar.
Yeah, they're both animation channels and they both do storytime videos with, black and white animations. Well, not all the time. I don't remember, not all the time. I think Jayden Animations has more color in her videos than Odd Ones Out, because Odd Ones Out is, this, blob. It's, this, white blob, and Jayden Animations is actually, looks like a girl, but, her face is, blank white, and...
Did you just call it blob?
But yeah, she's fun. And she does.
What's the content about?
Just stories of stuff. She had a video of when she went to Japan and all the stuff she did in Japan and all the stuff that went wrong, and then.
So it's kind of vloggy.
Kind of, and then she did a part 2 where she was locked out of her house when she went back. When she came back,
when that happens?
And yeah. And then,
That'd be crazy, though. You fly halfway across the world, and then you come back, and you can't even get inside.
And then she did a video where she tried to beat a Mario Kaizo, game, and it's...
What does that mean?
Mario Kaizo is, super friggin' hard Mario.
Oh. Why don't they just call it that, then? I'm just kidding.
Because, it's usually Mario World, and it's shell jumps and, jumping on bullet bills.
So are these ROM hacks, or?
Yeah, they are.
I guess now you don't have to do a ROM hack, now you just do it in Mario Maker, but.
Yeah. Well, in the one that she played, there are cats, and you can't have those.
Yeah, okay, so it would have to be a ROM hack, yeah.
But yeah.
Do you watch any straight up ROM hack channels? Because those are out there, right?
Not really.
Not really?
No.
Okay.
I don't watch, what's his name? I can't remember what his name is. But he's a really popular, Mario 64 ROM hack guy. He's, really good. I can't remember.
You got some folks in the comments that know who you're talking about?
Oh, yeah.
That watch her, too? Cool. Which is surprising. I assume most of your list is probably really popular people, right?
Yeah.
That a lot of folks are familiar with.
Most of these are over 1 million.
Okay, so once again, I picked stuff that I'm, currently watching more often for the most part. So this wouldn't have been there a while back because this didn't exist a while back. My number 7 is Talkville. Keeping up with that on a weekly basis. It is a podcast, but it's on YouTube, and I think they have more of a YouTube following than anywhere else. That is Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling talking about Smallville every week. And there's a lot of these. This has turned into kind of a phenomenon, especially over COVID. Over lockdown, there was a lot of this starting up where you'd have actors that were that didn't have anything better to do, or producers or writers, or just people involved in Hollywood that would do podcasts to have something to do. And you've got a lot of these kind of rewatch podcasts where people involved in old projects will go back and look at their shows that they haven't seen in a long time. Yeah. And so you've got Welling and Rosenbaum actually critiquing and criticizing Smallville, which is a lot of fun. And I honestly expected them to pull punches more, and I think Welling started to and has already kind of fallen off at that. And when they don't like stuff, they'll actually talk about it. And they're 20 years. The show's been off the air for over 10 years now. It's 20 years old, and they're more removed from it, so they're finding it pretty easy. And I wonder if Welling will have this with the later seasons, especially when he was actually producing on it. But with the early episodes anyway, they're finding it really easy to remove themselves from it and kind of just talk about it, at least when they're talking about story and character and stuff, and even production side, like just people watching the show, which is fun. And they can even, I think they were worried about looking narcissistic or self-aggrandizing early on, where they would go, like, you'd already see how they've evolved 15, 16 episodes in. I think they just did Nicodemus, or maybe there's even an episode after that they've already knocked out, but they're like 5 or 6 away from the end of the season already, which is really making me want to figure out how to get back and finally finish Crypto Freaks, or do some kind of review content to get the rest of that show done, because I was reviewing that
before they do.
Yeah, before they do, exactly. So I'm kicking it around. I don't know how I'm going to work anything with Smallville into my schedule, but I want to do something now that it's half relevant again. There's a lot of people going back and rewatching that show now and watching Talkville. They're doing pretty well with it. I think they've got 70 or 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, and
wow.
The videos are doing pretty well. Yeah, and Rosenbaum also, I tried to pick mostly independent channels and things that aren't real connected with Hollywood. This one felt like nearly a cheat, but Rosenbaum is, very independent. He's not backed by a big parent company or anything, but he is, he's got his connections, he's got his strings. He's already pretty popular on YouTube with his Inside of You podcast. I picked Talkville over that because I don't regularly follow that show, but I do look at some of the clips sometimes, and I've watched a few full episodes of that too, whenever he's interviewing people I'm interested in. His Stephen Amell interview shortly after Arrow ended is really interesting. I'll mention that just real quick, where he had almost like a nervous breakdown on the show and left, and then came back and finished the interview a different day, and they put them together and put it out in one video. Wow. That's how it seems like that's how burnout he was right after that show, and it's very interesting to go listen to. But I'm having a lot of fun with that. I've already called into that show a couple times, but my audio hasn't made it in yet, so I think they're kind of ahead in their schedule with their recording, so I think you have to call like weeks and weeks ahead before you get to an episode to get on the air. So I'm thinking about maybe calling in for something in like season 3 or 4 and seeing if I get in there. But I've been really enjoying that, and it's fun to see what they remember and what they don't. The first episode with, you remember the kid Ryan?
Yeah.
In first season? Not only did Welling not remember that character comes back, and that's one of my favorite episodes of season 2, he didn't remember that actor or filming that episode at all. Like, didn't remember anything about it whatsoever, and was kind of shocked to find out that the kid comes back. He remembered Warrior Angel, nothing else besides that. And he probably only remembered Warrior Angel because they did an episode in season 8 or 9 where that gets a movie, and he was more involved in the production side of that show at that point, so that's probably the only reason he remembered that. But yeah, as a Smallville fan, and I mean, I still have my love-hate relationship with that show, but with everything I know about that, it's been really interesting seeing what sticks with them and what doesn't, and all the things that they're going to be surprised by, because they also clearly don't remember that Tina Greer comes back in season 2, and it'll be really funny to watch them get blindsided by that. But anyway, I could talk about that longer, but I've been enjoying that, so I felt the need to put it on my list.
Yeah. My number 6.
Busted Sim says, I was burnt out on Arrow when it finished too.
Yeah.
What is your number 6, Jason?
My number 6 is Nathaniel Bandy. So, this is a YouTuber. This is one of
I don't know any of these
YouTubers this is one of the YouTubers on my list that I have been watching for like 4 years. I don't watch him I don't watch him as much as I used to, but he was still a big part of like how I got into video game secrets, and just how I got into video games just as a matter of course.
It's a hobby, yeah. What kind of content does he make?
he does a lot of like challenges with video games, but he also, you know, reacts to trailers, and he like Nintendo Directs, and he just talks about a lot of video games, usually Nintendo, and he has this series where he pretends to be really he pretends to have all of these called the Triggered series, where he pretends to like not like a video game, and it's got like 100 episodes now, where he just like he's got a video game and he just has a bunch of facts about it that he doesn't like, that like he doesn't like he's just pretending to be not liking the
This is a brand of humor that goes over my head, by the way. I never understand this kind of stuff.
Not like the video game.
But, like, what's the point of that?
But
because what's funny about that?
It's funny because none of it is true, and is like,
okay.
This isn't this. Like, it was more funny when I was younger.
I would think that would get old real quick.
It's
like,
pretty,
what kinds of games does he pretend not to like? Has there a series in there?
There's a bunch.
But
he
what
just does
kinds? Just give me
video games. Like,
I'm just saying.
He's done them.
Give me some examples. Are they classic like great games that he's pretending they're bad? I'm trying to figure out the sense of humor here. He's like, Donkey Kong Country sucks. Here's why. Like, is that the sort of thing he's doing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
But he doesn't. Yeah, and he's basically like, Donkey Kong Country sucks, and these are all the reasons why it sucks. And there's like,
okay.
And some of them like aren't true. Some of them.
I feel like I'd have to be there.
Are pet peeves, but are just like, who cares? Like, or some of them are like little things that like you shouldn't be all like triggered.
It sounds like he's taking. It sounds like he's almost taking a thing that James Rolfe always used to get. Used to get blamed for, and you know, because people would say like, oh, you don't really hate that game that much, you're just pretending like you do. Mm-hmm. And that was true with some things early on, especially with him, but it sounds like he kind of took that idea and just made a series out of it.
He was at least like at the beginning. Oh, also he does a lot of top 10s and stuff.
Okay.
That's like the main thing he does. And also, oh, right. Yeah, he has a second channel where he pretends to be a different character called Nathaniel Nandy, where he does do a bunch of ROM hacks.
Oh.
He does play a bunch of ROM hacks. I forgot about that.
So you do know a ROM hack
I forgot about that. Yeah, I do.
That's funny.
But, yeah, he was inspired a lot by AVGN.
I mean, a lot of these guys were.
But, yeah, because he was very, like, angry about everything in his first, like, top 15, hardest Mario stars and Mario 64 stars, and he went back to that video and he's like, wow, I hate this video so much. And he even did a top 10 Nathaniel Bandy top 10 lists, and that was funny. On there.
That's funny.
But
yeah, that's a thing that that Rolf got accused of a lot.
Yeah.
I think. So with especially guys my age or I don't know, within like 10 years of me, younger, on the comedy side of things, people, if they're doing video game content, the kind of gold standard and the person that has the most influence that you'll see a lot of homage and influence of is Rolf.
Yeah.
Is AVGN, and on the movie side, it's Nostalgia Critic.
Yeah.
Because everybody found it, thought it was more fun to like make fun of things than actually review them.
Yeah.
And I'm not disparaging, like comedy content and sketches and stuff, but there was a period. This has changed a lot now, and I think for the better for the most part, maybe. But for a long time, the review on YouTube and maybe the internet in general became synonymous with the like faux anger thing, or just vitriol, and it was all about making fun of things before it was actually about like any kind of real critical discussion of something. Not that everything has to be super cerebral or intellectual, but I just felt like there was kind of a critical thinking that was in general missing with these things we were calling reviews. And that's what was. I felt like there needed to be a separation of the review and the comedy sketch review. You know what I mean? Like these are kind of different things. And now what's really taken over the review and analysis department is the video essay. Mm-hmm. And the problem is just it's oversaturated, and some of them are great, and some of them are kind of nonsense. But there's so much quality in the production that they look credible, even if what's being said is not well researched or informed, or people who don't really know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? But like know how to make a video look good, and I think that can be kind of damaging to and I'm not calling out anybody in particular, and I'm not even thinking about anybody in particular right now. I just know that this happens. And I don't have, by the way, I don't think essay channels on my list, but somebody mentioned Lindsay Ellis earlier. I've liked some of the things I've seen from her. Like, there's good essay channels, obviously. I guess some video game essayists, or maybe that's part of what some of my list does, I think. But
yeah.
Anyway. My number 6 is a video game channel, Metal Jesus Rocks. You know about Metal Jesus.
Yeah.
I have liked him for a long time. He's one of the bigger retro channels. He's really super well known. If you watch any retro video game stuff at all, you've probably heard of him. He's got an eclectic assortment of different kinds of reviews, and especially collection videos. He's got series where he'll go through his entire collection of games on a particular system, and he has a huge collection of physical media and physical games, and he'll do kind of suggestion videos about how to get into collecting for a particular system. He's probably doing fewer of those now that everything is as expensive as it is, but there was a time where it was a little bit easier to get into certain systems, and he'd go, okay, like the Saturn has a reputation for being really expensive, but here's how you can still kind of collect it some, and that kind of thing. And I like his room tours a lot. He did a multi-part video where he went to Japan and did retro collecting there, and that's a really great series. I enjoyed that a whole lot, and he does videos with another channel that I like but didn't make my list called Radical Reggie, who is a big fighting game guy, and he collects PlayStation more than anything, but he's got a lot of other things too, and those guys sit down and do new game pickup videos together, and so that's fun, laid-back content that I like a lot. It's not scripted, he's totally off the cuff, but his videos are really well edited, and he comes in with a plan, but he also does short form and long form, and I like the variety of that. All right, moving right along. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is GD Colon.
That sounds horrifying. What is that?
So
I don't know what the GD stands for, and I don't know
Geometry
what.
Dash. He plays Geometry Dash.
Oh, okay.
So Colon and his so it's Colon because his what?
Can you please stop saying colon?
Okay, because his his second channel, his alt channel is GD semicolon. So it's that kind of colon. That's what he's...
No, I get it now.
Yeah.
But out of any context, GD colon sounds like a really awful, gross, horrifying YouTube channel. Anyway, so yeah. Jason likes Geometry Dash.
Yes. So Geometry Dash is one of my favorite video games, and GD colon plays it a lot.
Okay.
And instead of the Juniper, Woolsey, it's Woolsey, and well, actually no, Woolsey does put a lot of effort into his videos as well, but GD Colon does a lot of I like him because he puts a lot of effort into his videos, and he does a lot of research, and he always has really funny April Fool's Day joke videos, and he puts a lot of effort into those, and yeah, I really like his videos. And he just talks about, different things in Geometry Dash that he thought of, or like, what's something that has bugged me in this version of Geometry Dash, and I'll make a video about it. And then so yeah, this actually happened a couple months ago, where he talked about one of the spin-off games, Geometry Dash Sub-Zero, and how all of their secret coins are like really badly placed, where like it's not hard, it's just you just go through a random wall with like all of them, and like you just have to basically go through every wall to see if there's
That's so fun.
Yeah. And then so basically he made like a rant video about it, and then the creator of the game, Rob Top, put a comment on it and said agreed. Then like a month later,
They changed it?
Sub-Zero gets updated. Like he's updating all of the spin-offs, and Sub-Zero
And so
gets
the collectibles
Up-Zero.
are fun to find.
Yeah, gets updated, and all of them are like easier to find, and like got changed and are fun to find now.
That's neat.
So yeah. And then he made a whole video about that, and yeah, it was also, that original video was also kind of a joke video, and he got kind of screamy as just a joke, and
Yeah.
it was funny.
But that's an example where listening to the audience is actually a good idea.
Yeah.
Because sometimes feedback is useful and warranted, and isn't just people being angry and obnoxious. And so like sometimes as a creator, you should listen to criticism when what is the word I'm looking for right now? When it's constructive. And sometimes it's just, one guy with a preference, and it doesn't appreciate the way you decided to make a thing, and you shouldn't compromise your vision for that guy. And sometimes it's not about your vision. Sometimes you didn't accomplish your vision as effectively as you could. That's the difference. We talk a lot on the channel about like fans having too much ownership now sometimes over intellectual properties, and like when it's a good thing that the fans are as involved as they are and have such direct lines of communication with creators, and when that's actually really detrimental to the product. So anyway, that's why I brought that up. Something else that you made me think of that I wanted to mention real quick is I would be really leery to start a channel that was so specific in its focus about games or any kind of content that is popular today that might not be tomorrow. People that get like that freaks me out. The idea that you would get really popular making content about like just Minecraft or some other game, and you'd be able to maybe give up your day job and do that for a living, and then what if that thing's not popular anymore? Like, some people can make that transition.
Well, but the thing is,
and some people can't. Of course, Minecraft has stayed popular, but that's just an example. Like, there are a lot of people that will go, okay, this thing's huge right now. I'm gonna make a whole channel that's about nothing but this like Jurassic Park simulator. I found a channel that did that.
What? Really?
And and it was like really popular. I was like, how long is anybody going to care about this Jurassic Park simulator? You're getting like 500,000 views right now, but like how long is that going to stick around?
So there is a channel that is actually a pretty good example of that.
Okay.
Berserk. So he was a Fortnite YouTuber, and then he switched to Among Us when that was popular.
Yep.
And then that stopped getting popular.
And then he went back to Fortnite, right?
To
right?
Minecraft.
Oh.
For a while, and then Fortnite got popular again. Then he went to Fortnite.
See.
So yeah.
Did he review that silly Fortnite DC crossover comic that apparently was popular enough it got a hardcover?
No, I don't think so.
People keep telling me to review that. I'm not gonna review that. I don't care about
should review
Fortnite.
that.
I'm not gonna do that. I don't know anything about Fortnite.
You should play Fortnite, and then
I'm not gonna play Fortnite. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, shall we? That was your number 5. My number 5 is Power Rangers Playback.
Oh wow, he subscribed to you.
He is not a he.
Oh. Right.
Wait, Power Rangers Playback is subscribed to me?
Yeah.
There's no way they're subscribed to me.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm about to tell you who they are, and it will blow your mind if you don't know about this. But I think I've told you about this. If they are subscribed to me,
they're the.
Are you sure they're subscribed to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna.
I can show you.
Because I've been considering reaching out to them and trying to get them on the Captain Logan show, and
yeah, they do toy reviews, right?
Lately they've been doing some toy reviews, but what they are is it's Catherine Sutherland and Nakia Burrise, who are the Pink and Yellow Rangers in Zeo, and they do weekly, sometimes twice a week content. And yeah, they're like full-time YouTubers now. That's who they are. Yeah, yeah.
That's who they are.
Yeah, it's Kat. It's Kat
what?
and it's Kat and Tanya, and they do live interviews with Power Rangers actors, and sometimes they'll do episode watches and respond to them. They've been doing lately amateur toy reviews where they'll get I assume somebody's sending them to them. They'll get a recent version, like a Lightning Collection figure or something, and then the figure that came out back in the day of the same character, and and they'll do a compare contrast of them.
That's cool.
But yeah, I've watched their live shows and sent super chats a couple times. I've considered becoming a patron with them. I can't remember if they do Patreon or if they do the YouTube member thing. But anyway, I've been thinking about reaching out to them and seeing if they want to come on the Captain Logan show.
Yeah, they're subscribed to you.
Because we get comparable views, and I think I might be able to get them to pop on over and do some cross-pollination stuff with them. But I'd love to do that. And we've met Kat a couple times.
Yeah.
A couple times, just once. Morphicon? Or was she at another... Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, I mean, maybe they subscribed to us because of the video we did back at Morphicon.
They did subscribe around that time.
No, I don't think they were around back then. I don't think
Could we check?
I'm not gonna do it right now. We'll check it later. But anyway, I enjoy their stuff a lot. They've done interviews with. I like what they do because they'll talk to people from the Mighty Morphin era. They'll talk to people from every kind of show. They're obviously on the con circuit, and they've met a lot of these people, and they don't always know everybody's shows and a lot about Power Rangers, but like, you know, they're learning more and more all the time, and they're kind of, you know, more interested in the actor side and who these folks are now, and they get really interesting, obscure interviews sometimes with people connected to Power Rangers. And their Austin St. John interview is really good. They actually interviewed him like 3 or 4 weeks before the arrest happened.
Wow.
So, but that's a really good interview, and they talked to Jason David Frank before he decided that he was apparently retiring from Power Rangers, that whole silly thing. But they recently did an interview with, I can't remember his name, with the guy who plays Andros, and a friend of his who are making a fan film series that I want to start watching because it sounds really cool. But I haven't looked at it, so I don't know what the production value is like. But yeah, I watch them all the time.
Cool.
So I felt the need to put that on the list.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's actually a channel I watch.
I didn't know who that was. That's crazy. I watch subscribe to you.
I watch almost everything that comes out from them. Yeah, I didn't know that, and now that makes me want to double down on my consideration of trying to get them on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 4
4
is Caman18 bringing out the Minecrafters.
Oh no, man! Is it all Minecrafters from here on out? Okay.
No, there's 2 on my list.
Okay.
So Caman is a
what?
Did
you say Ja?
is a YouTube Shorts creator.
Okay.
So what, and he also puts a lot of effort into his videos. Sometimes he does, mods where, you know, he makes the game sideways and he tries to find diamonds, or, you know, whatever, or he's like, And then some of his videos, he's like, what's the rarest structure in Minecraft? And he, like, in all of Minecraft history. And he teaches you about this thing that you don't know about. And it's pretty cool. And he's, like, 17.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And to answer your question, he is on Twitch.
I did not have that question, but that doesn't surprise me.
You said you were going to have the question every time, and you haven't.
No, oh, I see what you mean. I was going to have the question of whether they live stream, but not necessarily Twitch.
Well, yeah, he does on Twitch.
Okay.
But, yeah. And then he does VODs on.
I guess I have not asked you that question again, but I thought I was going to. Hey, I have a question for you. How into, because you make short videos yourself, how into shorts and really short content? Because, of course, there's a difference between, like, 2, 3, 4 minute videos on YouTube and YouTube Shorts, which are in this aspect ratio with your phone. Hopefully you can see the rest of my list.
I could not.
But how into that kind of content are you?
I am into that content. I really wish I could do this.
Because you used to be like a TikTok.
You
used to be into TikTok more.
Like, I really like them when they're daily. So, like, I can just, before I go to bed, just watch it real quick.
Yeah.
And I really wish I could make daily content, because I make short content, and I just wish I could put it out daily as well. It just takes a lot of editing, and
I'm speaking from experience with Spawn. It's hard.
Yeah.
Especially if you have any kind of production value, and you're writing, and there's just a lot of steps.
Yeah.
Even when they're short, even when it's only a minute or so.
I think he just, like, takes, like, a weekend and does nothing but YouTube and Twitch. Because he only streams once a week on Saturday night, so I don't know.
Like I said, a lot of different strategies.
Yeah.
There are streamers who don't make any other kind of content, and all of if they have videos, they're excerpts from their streams. And some of those get really big, really popular, where people will know channels that they're not actually watching the streams for, but they just watch the highlights, and then those get huge. Yep. But some of those people stream all the time because they're living as much on super chats and donations and stuff as they are ad revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, we've already been going for over an hour. Let's try to knock these out pretty quick if we
got
possibly
like 3
can.
left, so.
My number 4, after I say my number 4. My number 4 you are familiar with, and you've watched with me, and you like this guy too. This is a video game channel.
Oh.
Do you know what it is? Okay, I'll give you a hint. You laugh at his 3 to 4 second introduction every time. Every time I play one of his videos, you're waiting to see how, because he changes up his intro every time. SNES Drunk. I love SNES Drunk.
Yeah.
SNES Drunk is wonderful. He is...
Wow, number 4. I
number
thought he
4.
would be higher, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought about putting him at 2 or 3.
Okay, now I know what your next 3 is.
You probably do, yeah.
Because your number 3 is going to be RGT 85. Your number 2 is going to be Red Letter Media, and your number 1 is going to be Cinemasker.
Well, we'll just have to see, won't we?
That's what I think, but I don't know.
SNES Drunk makes, speaking of shorter videos, most of them are 3 to 4 minutes long. He'll do list videos that are a bit longer sometimes, but it's real quick reviews that are very thoughtful and very critical, but also funny. In places where he just kind of gets in and gets out. It's retro reviews. It's mostly SNES and Genesis stuff.
And you should play this any way you can.
Any way you can, yeah. And at the end of his videos, he always tells you to have a nice day, which is very nice of him. But his whole thing is don't waste people's time. He will complain sometimes about channels that will do really long videos about a really simple 16-bit game, and he's like, there's just not that much to say about this. And I get where he's coming from. I like thorough. I like getting real nitty gritty, and as you guys know, of course, with what we do, hitting every aspect of a thing that seems worth talking about anyway. But I like what he does because he's building this wonderful archive of reviews that ultimately will be probably nearly every Super Nintendo game ever made, and a lot of Genesis and several other systems also. And they're bite-sized, they watch fast, and they're very informative and very useful if you want to go check out a game, but they're also just fun to watch even if you never plan to ever check out said game.
Yeah.
And they're minimal, they're like really well edited, but he's not throwing in a lot of footage of anything other than the game. It lets him put out a couple of these a week, so he's prolific, he's posting all the time, but he's taking, in my mind, the right kinds of shortcuts where the production values are very high, but he could be going even farther and making his editing time take 3 times more than it is. And because he doesn't do that, you get these really nice, short, simple reviews. And I have found him kind of inspiring too, and I want to do something like that at some point myself. I think if I could ever find the time to do sort of like the contrast of what I'm doing now, because I do these really super long form off the cuff things now. It'd be fun to go back to writing, but do some shorter bite-sized things and have an archive like that. But I think that's a lot of fun, and I watch most of what he puts out.
Yeah.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is another Minecrafter.
Bad news, we mentioned Gaming Historian earlier. He didn't make my list just because I wanted to not put nothing but gaming stuff on my list. He would be here if this was a gaming list.
Yeah.
So he's a runner-up for me. He was on my list for the longest time. I had to move him off ultimately.
Are any of the channels that are gaming channels that are on your list actually play video games on their... Like, I guess Nest Drunk does.
What do you mean by
But,
play
like,
video? Like
just-
he does.
it's just game,
he does occasionally live stream.
like,
but what do you mean?
It's just like it's just strictly playing video games. It's just gameplay.
No, because you got to remember that
'Cause
I'm
most
not a
of mine
big
aren't.
I'm not a big gameplay watcher. I still to this
Okay.
day don't fully understand why people watch other people play video games. Like I kind of get it now, but I don't do it. Like I'll do live streams myself because people seem to like that and it's fun to interact with the audience, but I don't do a lot of that kind of viewing myself.
Yeah, and I do.
I don't watch streamers.
Yeah.
Really.
Because this next one is.
And I'll say I've done it.
Yeah.
But I'll jump in for 5 or 10 minutes and just see what they're doing. I've never I don't like make nachos and sit down and eat a snack while I'm watching gameplay. Like I've never done that.
Yeah, and I do.
But now
Maybe
I want.
not nachos.
But now I want nachos.
But yeah, my number 3 is a good example of this.
Yeah.
It's another Minecraft YouTuber, Dream.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've never heard of this guy before. Okay, so explain Dream to me because he comes up all the time.
So Dream is okay. This is gonna be hard to explain. So, Dream plays Minecraft. He started in 2019, and his image was people knew him as a smiley face for the longest time. There's a drawing of a smiley face.
Oh.
And he's associated with the color green, and his Minecraft skin is green with a smiley face on his chest and or on his torso. And then very, very recently, like a month ago, he finally did a face reveal, and it was there was a mix of there are people making a bunch of memes about how he doesn't look like
a smiley face. He's supposed to look like a smiley face.
No, about how he doesn't look like
you expected
a
him to?
TikTok influencer, or he doesn't look handsome or anything, and I'm like.
So people got really superficial about it.
Yeah, and then there are other people who are like, "Yay, he finally did a face reveal. Now he can do IRL content."
You can't be critical of the man's face. It's his face.
Yeah,
Do you think it would have been smarter for him not to have done that? To never do a face reveal?
I don't know. He wants to do a lot of vlogging and stuff.
This kind of thing seems a little bit gimmicky to me, where it's stretch that out for a long time so that it's a huge deal. You'll get a bunch of views on this one video, but then you're not thinking ahead.
No, the thing
or is that not really what it is with him?
No. He didn't want to do a face reveal.
Oh, okay.
But
people do stuff like this, right?
Yeah, they do. But he didn't want to do... The thing is, he wanted to do a face reveal very early on, but then the big thing with him that he was talking about was, one, with his content, he didn't think he really needed his face in them. And he thought if he did more vlogging, then he would like need his face. And
sure.
But
well, this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show,
thing,
right?
Yeah.
Which how difficult it is to maintain an audience and to like, you know, live up to expectations and not disappoint people when there's something else you'd like to start doing.
Yeah, and the other
either instead of or on top of what you're doing.
The other big thing was he really liked the fan art, and there's a bunch of fan art of him that people just make, and he thought that might
changes.
have gone away when he did a face reveal. So he kind of wanted his icon to just be a smiley face for at least, a while longer. He was gonna do it in 2022 or 2020, but then COVID hit, so he didn't really think he should.
I guess with the vlogging thing, it depends on the kind of vlogs you want to make, right? Like if you want to show where you live and what you're doing and that kind of thing. But if you want to just talk about something like Eric did essentially that. He did reviews, but Eric wasn't on camera for the longest time. Depending on the kind of content you want to make, you could kind of get away with it.
Another thing is his best friend, who lived in the UK, George. George Not Found, which is another person that Freddie talks about a lot.
Yeah.
He's Dream's best friend, and he met him on the internet, and Dream had never seen him in real life, and he kind of wanted him to be there for the face reveal. So, this year, he finally got his visa and was able to go to America and live in Florida with Dream.
Okay.
So, yeah, then that's the main reason why he didn't do a face reveal until now.
See, the stuff gets so personal. It's like, I don't know this guy. I don't know. Yeah. If you're invested, I get why that's interesting. Yeah. But I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah, he does. I really enjoy his content because he does. It's very exciting, and the way he edits it with exciting music, and he has this series called Minecraft Manhunt where he's trying to beat the game. But he has a certain number of people hunting him down, and if they kill him once, they win, and if he beats the game, he wins, and it's just very exciting, and it kind of watches like a movie. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Interesting.
And he was also one of the first Minecrafters to make his own mods.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people couldn't really do that, but he actually knew how to code and stuff.
Well, guys, we have gone, and I don't mean to cut you off, but we've gone longer than we usually do and wanted to this afternoon. We're going to need to take just a couple-minute break and take care of something upstairs, and then we'll come back and go ahead. I thought about splitting this up and doing this maybe in 2 videos, but now we're down to our bottom 2.
Yeah.
Or top 2, depending on how you look at it. So I guess we should probably try to finish today if we can.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and just take a quick break, guys, and we'll be right back. Thanks for your patience. All right, pardon the interruption, folks. Thanks a lot for sticking around. And now we're going to get to... Was there anything else you wanted to say about yours? Because I felt like I kind of rushed you at the end there.
No, I had nothing else to say.
So that's Dream.
Yes.
So
Dream.
has he lost any subscribers or interest or anything since the big change?
Nope.
And has the content changed much?
No. Well, that was the last video he made.
Oh, it was the last. Okay, hasn't anything
Oh,
since then.
and also just along.
So is he gonna have like a separate vlog channel, or is he just doing that?
Probably.
Okay.
With George, they'll probably have their own channel.
I see.
My so I forgot to mention this. Along with Dream, just all of the members of the Dream SMP, SMP meaning survival multiplayer. It's basically like a big world that has like a bunch of cool stories in it and stuff that they made into a big series, which like with like a bunch of people and like 30 people and yeah.
So is it like it crosses between a lot of channels or?
Yeah. Well, no, it's mostly on Twitch.
I see.
But it has a bunch of YouTube channels into it, so most of them I do watch.
Wow.
Skeppy, Bad Boy Yellow, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, my number 3 is and you'll know immediately. I'm actually surprised you didn't call this. So you thought my number 3 would be RGT, and I'll just say I actually did not put him on the list.
Oh wow! Because I know you listen to him a lot.
Well, he's informative. So there are like pop culture news channels that, particularly with video games, and don't ask me why. I don't even have a current console besides the Switch, but I keep up with the goings on in video games to some degree, and the tech world and stuff, I guess. And again, it's weird because it's news. It shouldn't be escapist, but it is because it's not a thing that I always talk about on the channel. It's like it comes up here and there, but it's not my bread and butter. So it feels like another world I can kind of go into and learn about and not have to, always be thinking about the superhero movies and the world that I live in. But anyway, so. I like what he does. He's very good off the cuff. He has a real I don't care what anybody thinks of me attitude, and I like that. And he's very apolitical, which I really appreciate.
Who's it again?
RGT. So I'm just saying that that's why I like him, but he's not on the list because again, it'd be all video games if I wasn't careful, and so I couldn't throw everybody in there. And I wanted to pick things that were a little bit. I mean, it's geeky, but I was kind of leaving new stuff off. Just because this is more interesting as a recommends channel, or as a recommends list, I guess, than just it's my favorites, but it's also here's stuff I think are some of my favorite things that might be fun for you to look at also. My number 3 is Lexington Lab Band.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
Because, of course, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite groups now ever. They're just wonderful. Kind of weekend warriors in Kentucky that get together, and they've got a lot of guest singers, and they have this really highly produced... They seem to have their own studio, or they have...
they have, like, a stage.
They have a stage that they must rent or just have somehow... And I don't know their whole story. They've got a couple of videos where they talk a little bit about what they do that I haven't watched that I probably should. But anyway, these guys do a lot of classic rock, and they do these wonderful covers that are... And I never used to be into this kind of thing, but they're so technically impressive that I really enjoyed listening to them. They sound like the record a lot of the time, or really close to the record. And they'll have their own flourishes a little bit here and there. They have... female backup singers on almost every song, which gives it a little bit of a different vibe. That's great. But for the most part, it's fun to listen to and fun to watch for the technical aspects of it, because they sound like almost perfect, just like the original recording.
So them over Smooth McGroove.
Yeah, over Smooth McGroove. Well, and that whole thing gets weird, by the way. Again, I was trying not to make it all gaming. Smooth McGroove would be on my list if it was a top 10 gaming channel thing, but he'd be actually really low on the list because I don't watch his videos, I just listen to his tracks.
Oh, right.
That's the difference. Sure, he starts on YouTube, but Lexington Lab I watch because their videos, and his videos are really well made too, don't get me wrong, yeah. But I like looking at those guys play.
Have you watched any of his gaming videos?
No, I haven't. But
Well, I mean, of course.
I'm not talking about Smooth and Groove right now.
No.
I'm trying to talk about this band.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really watch his channel. I just like his music.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's talking about an acapella guy that does retro video game music, and we love him. We listen to him a lot. But yeah, it didn't make my list because I was trying not to make it all video games. But Lexington Lab, like I said, they do a lot of mostly like arena rock, classic rock, but they'll also do there's a guy that does a pretty good Johnny Cash, and so they've got a little bit of country and western here and there, but they have this chameleon voiced lady. She's brilliant, who does Heart, and she does Alanis Morissette, and those don't sound anything like each other, but she sounds like both of them perfectly.
And she does
And then they've got this guy who does a perfect Hall & Oates. Private Eyes is the way we found them. And I was like, hey, Jason, you ever heard this song? And he'd never heard Private Eyes, so I played him Private Eyes, and then I showed him that video, and he was like, that's nuts. And that guy's great. You're probably going to say Black Velvet, maybe.
No.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know what you were trying to think of with her, but they do a big show once a year in the fall, and we almost went this year, and then something came up that weekend and we weren't able to. So I'm gonna try to go see them next year. But boy, I love that group.
Yeah.
I think they're just wonderful. I was kind of surprised not to see Walk Off the Earth on your list.
Wow. Yeah.
But maybe it's been a long time.
It's been a really long time, and I haven't like kept up with them in 8 years. Like I haven't watched any of their videos since like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See, I haven't listened to them in a long time either, which is why they didn't make my list. But anyway, quick plug for them, that because I forgot to put them on my runners up. But that's a really good group.
Yeah.
Anyway, but anything that I should have mentioned about Lexington Lab?
No.
They're great. They post, what, a couple times a week?
Yeah.
Once a week? They're really prolific. But not as big as they should be.
Yeah.
Oh, DJ, when you were talking about Dream earlier, DJ wrote, letting another YouTuber come live with you? That's crazy. Who would do that? It is crazy. I don't know why anybody would do that.
Well, and he already was living with another YouTuber who was also his best friend, Sapnap.
Oh.
And then...
But
yeah.
you know why he said that?
No.
He's talking about Eric.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he said that. Because I also did that.
He did do that.
Anyway, where are we at? Number 2?
I was trying to think, like... yeah, my number 2 is, my number 2 and number 1 are, like, tied for best YouTuber. I cannot put one over the other.
Wow.
But I put one over the other for this list.
For the exercise?
So, my number 2 is Jack Sucks at Life.
I knew that was going to be in there because you talk about that all the time.
He's the collector. He collects YouTube play buttons.
I don't understand this.
Okay, so basically, he used to be a Minecraft YouTuber until like 2020, and he had figured out that YouTube play buttons are like awards that you get for surpassing certain subscriber milestones, and he figured out that you could buy those awards, new ones from YouTube, and he was like the first people to ever figure this out, and then he bought one, and then he got another, he had a second channel, and he got an award for that, and then he was like, this is fun, I'm gonna just make like a bunch of channels, and then get them all to 100,000 subscribers, and then get a bunch of channel, and then get a bunch of YouTube play buttons, and then he got and then what he did was he found...
Well, I'm confused though. I thought you said he figured out he could buy them directly.
He could buy extra ones.
Extra one. Oh.
For one YouTube channel, but if you already have 100,000 subscribers.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's the part I didn't understand.
That's how he got into the whole play button thing.
Okay.
And then the big thing that got him really popular was there's this other YouTuber that's like a music. He makes music. He's not he's pretty inappropriate and swears on his music a lot. So I don't watch him. I don't listen to his music. But KSI and
you can tell he's lying, right? Like he totally does.
No.
And he just doesn't want me to know about it.
No.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But yeah, Jack Sucks at Life. What he did was he had found out that in the place where you buy the silver play buttons, you can change the word silver to gold. And then when you change the word gold to diamond, it brings up the diamond thing. And this is now, and you can't do this anymore. It got redirected to a Rickroll. Yeah. After they did it, and
of course it did.
So what he did was he put KSI's name in, and then he had.
That's the problem with making content about this kind of thing, right? Is that it becomes public.
Yeah.
So you can't tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
Or they'll change it, but then you're getting views, you're getting content out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, he got KSI's diamond play button, and then the first channel to reach 100 million subscribers, PewDiePie, who was like the biggest channel ever.
Right.
He wanted to live a more like minimal
lifestyle.
Yeah, lifestyle,
minimalistic
lifestyle, and so he like sold all his play buttons, and someone found his diamond play button in the trash.
Weird.
And then it's changed a few times, and so Jack Sucks at Life got the briefcase that play button arrived in from eBay, and then a couple years later he got the actual play button. So he has a diamond play button that doesn't belong to him, and a red diamond play button that does not belong to him.
Okay.
And those are both like pretty rare, and he only has like 2 million subscribers, so it's pretty cool. And he also has a geography channel.
I have to be honest with you. Yes.
That I watch a lot, and that's
Jason's
how I got into
into geography, yeah. And that's neat because of course that's really educational, and it's kind of cool that you developed a hobby based around something you should be learning in school anyway, that you found from a guy that collects YouTube play buttons. It's very strange.
And that was originally a joke channel. And then he made another joke channel, Jack Sucks at Pop-Up Pirate, where he plays Pop-Up Pirate.
What is that? Just
is it like a phone game? It's a kid's game. And yeah.
I gotta be honest with you, I do not understand your fascination with the whole YouTube play button thing.
It's just fun to
He made me one. He made me like a paper Geekvolution YouTube play button, which was the saddest thing ever because it came off like, I know you're never gonna get one of these, Dad. You're never gonna get to 100,000.
It's the red diamond play button for 100 million subscribers.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
I mean, I could work a lot harder at it, but then the audience we have wouldn't like me anymore, and I probably wouldn't make any money. Not that it's all about that, but that's a component. It's part of it.
What is your number 2? Well, I mean, I know what it is, but what is it?
You know what else? Sorry, one more thing real quick. Remember how earlier that guy is really fascinating to me. Just everything you told me about him.
Yeah.
One thing that
he's British.
If I had, another like 15 hours in my week that I would love to do. We were talking earlier about making like really niche YouTube channels based on a thing that might not last forever, and you probably don't want to put all your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do a dedicated channel or series, and I've dabbled in it. I've made videos, but like I've wanted to do a regular Heroes of the Grid channel forever.
Yeah.
And some of my Heroes of the Grid videos have more views than I realized they did. Because, the few people that, few comparatively, people that care about that, there's not a ton of that content, so they're finding mine. And I did a solo game before solo mode existed, when I made up my own solo mode. It has like 1,100 views, which really surprised me. But the one I did when solo mode came out has like close to 600, which obviously isn't huge or anything, but I mean, I'm playing a board game by myself. Like, it's amazing anybody would watch that.
I mean,
I would love to do that once or twice a week.
People were watching Jacksepticeye Pirate, and that's him playing a board game by himself, pretending to be two little characters playing the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, also, he has Guinness World Records for having, like, he has, like, 4, because he beat it, like, 4 times. He beat his own, like, 4 times, and, for getting, like, X number of channels with 100,000 subscribers. So, he has, like, 11 or 12 now, I think.
Okay, we've got to finish up because we're getting real late in the day, and I gotta take Freddie to karate in a little bit. So my last 2 will not be surprising to anybody. So I'll mention them real briefly when I get to mine. Are we at 2?
Yeah, we are.
My number 2 is Cinemassacre.
Wow. Okay.
And that is, of course, primarily for Angry Video Game Nerd. Yeah. But I like several things that James Rolfe does. Board James was great. I need to go back and watch that because I never saw every episode of that. But I did watch the big finale and several episodes, and the Dream Phone and all of that. It's very funny. And AVGN, of course, I've talked about at length, and I've done a commentary on the movie, and I actually like the movie, and a lot of people don't. But it didn't make the number 1 spot for me because it's not as great as it used to be, I don't think. I think it's improving again. There was a lot of controversy with Cinemassacre a year ago because of some people that were working on the channel that a lot of people didn't like and didn't care about, that were behind the scenes guys from a company called Screenwave, and suddenly Rolfe was just unceremoniously putting them in all these videos. They had a really bad podcast, and it was like, who are these guys? And they were kind of pretending like people felt like they were pretending like they were friends and trying to recreate what people see as the James Rolfe and Mike Matei magic. And it was like, we don't know who these guys are. They're not all that insightful. James isn't very good off the cuff. Or I should say James Rolfe. I don't like calling people I don't know by their first name. It just seems incorrect to me. But Rolfe would try to do this off the cuff stuff, and he is an introvert, and he's not real comfortable with it, and he's better scripted. And also these guys.
That's how I am. I'm not very good, not scripted. I'm way better scripted.
I think in general I am too, and for necessity, I've had to learn how to get better off the cuff, or at least I've been trying. But he had kind of this reputation for just nodding and smiling and saying yeah and uh-huh a lot, and he wouldn't add very much to the conversation. And his scripted stuff was being written by some of these guys, and it was really noticeable, and people weren't liking that. And he's writing his own stuff again, and he started doing more nostalgia videos, which when he's not doing AVGN, that's more of the stuff I like. Like, one of my favorite videos on YouTube of all time is the Console Wars, the Super Nintendo versus Genesis video that he did. I think it's wonderful, and that was the first time I saw him do something on games like that that wasn't in the guise of the nerd. Mm-hmm. Where he's just being himself, and it was I don't know, it was just kind of a personal video without being overly sappy. I think sometimes, especially when he talks about like rental stores and VHS and stuff, he gets a little bit sappy, he gets a little bit over the top, but I like some of that stuff. And like I said, things are I think turning around on that channel again, and you're starting to see his passion again. But anyway, like I said, I've talked a lot about AVGN, and we've got to get upstairs. So go ahead and give us your number 2, sir.
My number 1 is Mr. Beast.
You've mentioned him. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's just a what's it called? He's basically just like he's super famous, and he is a YouTuber, but he's kind of, like, evolved and is, like, and, you know, like, he's met The Rock and stuff, but he does a lot of, his channel is kind of like a game show type thing.
Yeah.
You know, like... That's
right, you have mentioned this to me.
He does a lot of, like, challenges type things where he gets a bunch of people and, they participated in all these challenges, and then the winner gets a bunch of money. Or
And this is
guy,
the main thing you were talking about when you were saying things that feel like television.
Yeah. And this guy, I'm gonna trap this guy in a room for 100 days, and if he wins, he gets $1 million. Or,
Which sounds mean, but you told me about it, and it sounded pretty above board.
And, his latest video was he went to a bunch of hotels, and each one was more expensive, and you just see the different types of hotels for how rich you are, kind of. So he gets
is this the guy
$1 guy.
Is this the guy that you said went cross country for a penny or $1 or something?
No, that is Ryan Trahan.
Okay.
He gave Mr. Beast a penny. He was
that's
trying
what it
to
was.
give him a penny, going all the way from California to North Carolina.
That whole thing sounded amazing.
He's in my runners up.
So Mr. Beast, how prolific is he?
What do you mean?
How often does he post?
He posts,
because his stuff sounds
elaborate. He tries to post every 2 weeks.
I was gonna say weekly doesn't sound plausible for that guy.
No, he used to post every 2 months.
The production values are nuts. It sounds like.
Yeah, the production value is insane. One of his latest videos is he got 100 people in a mall and played hide and seek with them, and the winner got a bunch of money. And he made that video to promote his first actual, because he has this whole delivery restaurant thing called Mr. Beast Burger, but he opened his first actual restaurant in that mall, and that's what he was trying to. And then he has a chocolate bar. He has
Is this the guy that did the thing with the chocolate factory?
Yes.
Okay.
That's that guy.
You did tell me about that. I need to watch that.
That's one of Mom's favorite videos on the internet.
She's been trying to get me to watch that. I keep forgetting about it. Okay, no, I'll check him out. He sounds fun.
He has 100 million subscribers, and he's the biggest YouTuber on the platform.
Wow. But it sounds like
he's a celebrity.
Maybe deserving of it, yeah.
So
you don't think he's one of these guys that pours everything back in and doesn't have any money left over, because he's got franchises and stuff, like you said.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And, he lives in his studio.
How fast did he blow up?
Oh, it took him 10 years. He started with Minecraft, then he went to Call of Duty. Then he did stupid watching this for 10 hours and stuff challenges that no one really watched. And,
really? Was it kind of boring?
Yeah, and then.
See, I've been thinking about doing more crazy stuff where I'm streaming for a really long period of time, with the 24-hour stream.
Is, he was watching the same thing over and over again for 10 hours.
Just see if he could do it.
Yeah, and
how do you keep it interesting? People keep saying I should do that with 89, and I'm like, that's not gonna work. People are gonna stop watching this.
Most of the time he was just like this. It wasn't very entertaining.
Oh, so you have to, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta make it a product.
Yeah. He blew up 4 years ago when he got his first big company deal, and they were like, "We'll give you $8,000," and he was like, "No, stretch it to 10,000. It'll look better on the title." And they're like, "No," and they finally did it.
Okay.
And he was right. That was the big thing that made him blow up. He gave $10,000 to a random homeless guy, and that was the video.
How important was it that it was 10? Do you think? You think he would have blown up if it was $8,000 he gave to a random homeless guy?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it would too. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
he couldn't scrounge around and get some other people to give him, $50 here and $50 there and get it to 10 grand.
Yeah, but yeah, he has a bunch of channels in different languages as well. And
interesting.
He dubs his videos into different languages, and it's pretty cool. And Jack Says It Life does that with Spanish as well.
Okay, we are really cutting things close here. My number, so that was your number 1, yes?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm bringing this back up so that we can run through runners up just really quickly. But my number 1, so you've not called it yet because you thought RGT would be on here.
And I thought Red Letter Media would be on there.
Red Letter Media is my number 1.
Okay.
There you go. I
thought that was number 2.
I go back to the Plinkett videos so often. Oh, did you mention it, or maybe you didn't mention
Yeah, I
it
did.
earlier? Okay, but that's my number one.
I thought it would be number 2.
I go back to the Plinkett videos a lot. For the longest time, that's all I cared about from them, and then I finally started dabbling in their other content, and I kind of saw the light along with everybody else with their content about B movies, which was a thing that I didn't really care about and thought I would be bored by, and it's very, very funny. But I like their stuff about random videotapes, like Black Spine and stuff,
Yeah.
more than I like the regular Best of the Worst show. But I watched those two.
Yeah, Best of the Worst is good too, and Will of the Worst.
In but that's the stuff I like more.
Yeah.
Is Black Spine and Wheel of the Worst.
See, those are the only I haven't seen
I haven't shown you Best of the Worst yet.
the actual Best of the Worst. Yeah.
And I also watch Half in the Bag now too, which or have for a couple of years, which for the longest time I didn't really care about. And I had the thing that a lot of people did where it's like, well, Mike is great scripted in the Plinkett persona, but like, do I really want to see these guys kind of hem and haw having a casual conversation about movies? And they're the only people I really regularly watch that do anything close to what I do, but they're really entertaining and quite insightful and just down to earth and call it like they see it and don't care, again, what anybody thinks of them. And I really, really appreciate that. And they've not changed. They somehow, in the I don't know how exactly to put it, but in the rocky, volatile social climate that we're in, where people are more and more afraid to speak their mind, they've not changed. Like, they've acknowledged the way the world has changed, and maybe Mike has to a degree of he's gotten a little bit more cynical about some things, but their attitude about how they make their content and not being afraid to be politically incorrect is wonderful and is, to me, really refreshing, and I kind of need that. Obviously, they get real vulgar. I have let Jayson see some vulgar content because I think that the I don't know if I want to say creativity of it, but just the, again, critical nature of it and the comedy and stuff kind of outweighs that. And
the content.
The quality of the content. So I let Jayson watch some of that and some AVGN, but just with me, not on his own. He's not allowed to go off and just watch whatever he wants to from those channels. But it'll be like a late night, hey, Jayson, you and I are going to do, we'll say that. Like, we're going to watch inappropriate content together, and we do it as a father-son thing. I don't have to explain myself to you folks. But
not on the show.
But I don't. Yeah, but I don't want you to think that I'm not paying attention to what my kid's looking at, and you don't want to shelter your kids too much, but you also don't want to just throw them to the internet, because that's a bad idea. But anyway, people know that I like those guys. Jayson, let's go ahead and do runners up real quick.
Runners up, yes.
Do you want to just read down yours real quick, or do you want to go back and forth?
Let's go back and forth real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Blue Television Games. This was the first. I don't watch him anymore, but this was the first channel that I started watching regularly, and the channel that got me big into YouTube. He does a lot of Mario Maker content.
Sega Lord X is one of my favorite video game channels. He does. You'd love him. I need to show you his stuff. He is primarily focused on Saturn. And then he does Dreamcast, and lately he's been doing a whole lot more Sega and Sega CD stuff. He is one of the most, maybe the most prolific scripted and edited YouTubers I've ever seen. I don't know how he puts out as much content as he does. All of his stuff is written and edited, and he's got a lot of, I assume, archived video game play footage, but I don't know, maybe he is playing games for his videos every single time, but it's nuts. He posts like almost daily, that guy. I don't know how he gets all that stuff out, but you should watch him. He's great. Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Oh, and also I have talked to him, and we were starting to put together a thing, and he was going to come on the channel, but life happened with him, and we couldn't get together when we were supposed to. I just remembered that. I haven't messaged him back, but yeah, he seemed really cool. We were going to do a show on Virtua Fighter.
Oh, cool. Tetrabit Gaming. This guy.
Say again.
Tetrabit Gaming. You've heard of him before.
Oh, I don't remember right now. Go ahead.
Not at the name. He's the guy that beat Mario 64 with the DDR pad.
Oh.
He does a lot of Mario 64, but with this controller things, and then he also has the series where he talks about it's called Lost Bits, and it's just like stuff in video games that is like just in the code but isn't actually in the video games, and it's pretty cool.
I watched a guy on Twitch doing that with Mario 64 live once. I wonder if it was the same guy.
I think it was, because he did do it live.
Maybe it was him. He was cool. Yeah. And then he went off and ordered a pizza.
He did?
Yeah, so I didn't get to keep watching him because he went and got a pizza. Arl Knotts.
Oh.
I'm Bane, yes, that's my name. If you say it too much,
wow,
it becomes a name. But only for a few videos, so I didn't feel I need to put it in my top 10. But that's a really funny comedy channel, and they're still around, and surprisingly, still putting out the same kinds of content. But their Star Wars stuff is really funny, and yeah, check them out if you like that kind of sketchy stuff. Go ahead.
Maytree. They are a Korean band.
Oh, it's a band.
Do a lot of acapella stuff. Just really anything from
covers?
Video games, and covers from anything from video games to movie themes, and they're fun most of the time.
We have to wrap up in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
So why don't you go ahead and just read the rest of yours down real briefly, and I'll do the same. Go ahead.
Okay, I have one left.
Oh, okay. I've got a few, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Glitch Productions. They made Meta Runner, and they're putting out a new show called Murder Drones, and I do want to watch that.
Okay, RGT85 we already talked about earlier. Super Guitar Brothers.
Right.
I didn't put on my list because they haven't been putting out a lot of stuff lately, but that's one of my favorite video game cover groups. It's just two guys that play acoustic guitar, and they have one of the best covers of Aquatic Ambiance from Donkey Kong Country of all time. Jason, I'll tell you, I listen to a lot of Donkey Kong Country covers, and that's one of my favorites. The Old Turtle Den is a really good channel about Ninja Turtles news and reviews and things. He's really polished. I like his writing quite a bit. Renegade Studios for their gameplay for Heroes of the Grid. They make that game, and they do some fun live shows with their content.
I didn't know they did that.
Retro Gaming Quarterly.
Oh, yeah.
They do like 45-minute to an hour videos. They're on the same level, I think, as Video Game Historian in their research and their production value. And they do, again, they don't come out very often. That's why it's quarterly. It kind of feels like a video game version of a magazine. It's cool. And I don't know if they actually have like a publication or if they're just called that for their channel, but they spend a lot of time on the few videos they put out a year. And their focus has primarily been, I think they're moving away from it now because they've done so many, but their focus has primarily been the launch of video game systems. So they'll concentrate on what it was like.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should watch them. Like what it was like when a system came out, and then they'll review all the launch titles. See, real in-depth reviews of the launch titles.
I've been wanting to do stuff like that. So
check them out. It's really wonderful. Digi Valentine, primarily for his Knights coverage. My favorite video game of all time is Knights into Dreams on the Sega Saturn. I talk about it all the time. I've got a tattoo of Knights, and he did an hour-and-a-half documentary specifically about a character that was supposed to be in that game that they axed, and called Self, who was supposed to be a boss in that game, and there is still there's still code.
Wasn't he a basketball coach?
That's Bill Self. And they spelled it differently. It was SELPH because they did kind of cute spellings of things in that game. But anyway, there's still like code left over about that character in the game, and so people have been data mining it for years, trying to find as much information as they can about that character. And it is probably overly thorough, and it won't be the most interesting thing to everybody, but I thought it was wonderful. And finally, one of the first channels I ever watched that inspired me, maybe my main inspiration, even over Plinkett for Superhero Rewind, SF Debris, who only didn't make my list because he's not primarily a YouTuber anymore. He mostly focuses on his own website, but because he's had a lot of the same issues that I have with copyright flag, and hasn't been able to put out the kinds of videos he used to, but he did a lot of 10-minute reviews, and they're very funny, but they're also very thoughtful, of Star Trek Voyager episodes. And then he branched out to a bunch of other, and if I've not shown you Debris, I have to, because he's great.
I'd never heard of him.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about him anymore, and he was starting to get traction about the same time as Plinkett did, and then Plinkett blew up, and he went off to his own website, and he's got his niche audience, and he probably has a bigger audience than I do, but by a little bit. You wouldn't know it looking at his YouTube channel, because, like I said, that's not primarily where he's at anymore. But anyway, he's a major influence on me. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Debris. I've always wanted to do something with him. I think he much prefers to be scripted, and he's always been a little bit weird about going off the cuff, so I've never reached out to him, but I've always wanted to. Anyway, he's also been doing kind of documentary stuff lately too. He's got a really good, I want to say like 12-part series maybe on George Lucas and the original trilogy and the prequels, and why maybe he's a more sympathetic character in the way that all turned out than people give it credit for. It's almost the anti-Plinkett reviews. Not that he is like intentionally going up against that, but just to say like there's more to this than people realize, and it's interesting. But yeah, so there's our, I don't know how this went 2 hours, but it did. Our favorite.
It did. That's insane.
YouTube channels with a bunch of runners-up.
Mm-hmm. There was more on your list than mine. So.
And I even had some more I could have mentioned. It's weird. I thought it was, like I said earlier, I thought it was going to be hard to come up with enough. And it was actually difficult to narrow them down.
Yeah, I have some others that I just didn't put on runners-up that I either used to watch or do watch, just not as much, and I don't really like them as much as my other runners-up, so.
RJ Godzilla says Red Letter Media is interesting when they just talk about stuff. Yeah, just like you, Cap. In some ways, you're a G-rated Red Letter Media. Thanks for that, I think. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get going, but we really appreciate you, and I'll be back tonight at 7 o'clock for the Captain Logan show, so just in 2.5 hours, I guess, and tonight we're going to talk about James Gunn's alleged plans for some big project for the DC Universe, I guess they're calling it now the DC Universe, the DCEU, and we're going to speculate a little bit about what that might look like and look at rumors and some recent quotes and things. So that'll be the lead-in topic, and then, of course, Ask Me Anything after that. We really appreciate you. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan.
And I was Jayson.
We were father
and son.
Bye, everybody.